Hi everybody, how are you? So coming on here to talk about stress and getting a wee bit stressed out myself there because I could almost not find my Facebook page on my phone to start the live. Why have I decided to come on here and talk a bit about stress? Well, the main reason is because every time I'm seeing clients, either in clinic or in any other group workshops, they don't come to me because for me to fix their stress. They don't come because they are stressed. They come because they have different symptoms. They're feeling uncomfortable. Either it could be, a wide variety of things like digestion, constipation, diarrhea, IBS, blood sugar imbalances, so their energy levels could be up and down all over the place. Fatigue, it could be, their menstrual cycle, PMS, fertility, reproductive, all sorts of reproductive issues or menopause. And even, I see people with muscle aches and pains, immune system a bit compromised, so headaches, anxiety, eczema, all of these things. And at the very root, it's not the sole cause, sometimes not the cause at all, but stress is always there, either as a cause, as a partial cause, or as a mediator making the situation worse. Okay, so anything that's mediating and making the situation worse, anything that is causing the discomfort or the illness or the symptoms, then if we can get that supported and fixed, then then that can equally help. Okay, so I suppose that's one of the reasons why I did want to talk about this just in a wee bit more detail. I'm also doing a two-part webinar starting on Wednesday. So the first part will be looking at the physiology of our bodies whenever we are stressed, what's happening, and the second part of it then, anybody who's on will be going away with a firm action plan that suits them, things that they can put in place to help to manage the stress. Okay, so that's kind of where I was coming from on it, because every single client that I see, stress seems to be at the root of it. And sometimes it might be somebody will turn around and say, well, I don't feel stressed, I'm managing, I'm coping, I'm not tearing my hair out. Yes, okay, I'm looking after my mother. Yes, okay, I have 2 children at home and I'm schooling them. And yes, okay, I'm doing this. And yes, okay, I'm running around and whatever else. But I'm busy and I'm grand and I can do these things. I can do it. And you'll only be able to do it for so long. But the messages that your body are sending out are wee warning signals. Okay, so you can do it, but you're getting these headaches. Okay, where's that coming from? Okay, so you can do it, but your digestive system, you're getting all bloated. You've either got flatulence or you're constipated, or you've got or just something's not right. Or your skin's all itchy, or different. And these are just small things that we're living with day in and day out, but that we don't have to. So that's you coping, that's you managing. But this is your body sending you out these wee signals and saying, right, girl, get this, or boy, get this sorted out. Do you know what I mean? This isn't right. This isn't the way you're supposed to be. So let's get this fixed. And if we ignore those signals, and we keep on piling on the stress and piling on the stress and piling on the stress, then the signals are just going to get louder and louder and louder. Okay, so what is this stress and the stress response that I'm talking about, right? Okay, so the first example that I was going to give you was about you sitting in traffic and you're watching the minutes tick away and you're late for a meeting. And actually, as I was kind of reading it through to myself whenever I had written out my notes, I thought that's exactly the way that I feel before I come on to do a Facebook Live, okay? Because you're sitting there and, so you're getting a wee bit worked up, you're getting a wee bit stressed, okay? And what happens then is the hypothalamus, which is just a wee tiny gland in the back of the brain. Anybody that was on my thyroid workshop, or even the one before that, Hormones, That's a Balancing Act, will have heard me talking about the hypothalamus in the brain. Okay, it's the control mechanism that actually controls whether or not we produce or don't produce all the hormones in our body. Okay, so it's kind of like the master gland. So it will tell the thyroid, okay, we need to produce thyroid hormones. It'll tell the adrenals, and here we come, whether or not we have to produce stress hormones. Okay, so you're sitting in traffic, or I'm sitting about to go on a Facebook Live, and I'm starting to get a wee bit kind of agitated, nervous, stressed. Okay, so that's kind of normal. So the hypothalamus actually sends a message down to the adrenals and says, right, okay, she's getting a wee bit stressed, need these stress hormones pumped out, which is your cortisol or your adrenaline. So the stress hormones get pumped out, and your heart will start to race a wee bit faster. Your breath, you know, you'll start to actually quicken your breath. You'll actually notice a change in your eye movements if you were looking at them, and you can nearly feel your muscles tightening up. You know, your shoulders and your neck, and internally. So those are just the gentler symptoms, right? There's loads of other things that are happening. What actually happens whenever we're stressed is all those things like the breathing and the heart racing, they're all prioritized. So for those few minutes that you're stressed prior to going on a Facebook Live, or you're stressed because you're late for something, your digestive system is deprioritized. Your reproductive system is deprioritized because it's not essential for life. So at that moment in time, your hypothalamus has basically said, okay, get these stress hormones out. This is the priority. She's feeling stressed, so she must be at risk of, you know, danger or whatever else. She must be going to have to fight for her life. She must be going to have to run. She's getting ready for action. Okay, so that's kind of normal. Okay, that's the way it's supposed to be. So it's kind of, you know, to get you pumped up, to get me with enough confidence to come on and do a Facebook Live, or you know, for whenever you're kind of, you know, getting yourself pumped out. If you're about to go on to do public speaking or something like that, then you do a couple of deep breaths, and that kind of brings it all back around again. So it's normal in the short term, okay? But what's happening with our daily lives now is that the next thing happens, and the next thing happens, and the next thing happens, and we're constantly in that state of heightened stress, and we don't get a chance to come down from it. So from morning, whenever we get up, especially now, we're listening to the news, we're keeping an eye, you know, house, and we know we're worried about family and children and work and everything, you know, and then we're late for me, and we have to queue up to get into shops, but all these stress things, right? And if we feel that, if we kind of feel that stress, the hypothalamus is just going to say, okay, keep pumping out that stress hormone, keep pumping out that stress hormone, keep pumping out that stress hormone, and that's not normal. Okay, so then that's whenever it starts to get chronic. Okay, so and a lot of people are walking around day in and day out living with chronic stress, and it is manifesting itself in other conditions. So it's manifesting itself in digestive issues, it's manifesting itself in severe headaches, it's manifesting itself in skin disorders, or in you know, making your thyroid condition worse, or, you know, having really bad periods. You know, there's loads and loads of things that if we could actually get that stress response to take a break a couple of times during the day, you know, it works we'll work far better, far more efficiently. And, you know, one of the key things that it actually works against us in is in weight loss as well, okay? Because it has a very big role to play in terms of balancing out our blood sugars, because whenever we're stressed, the liver produces more glucose, which is basically pumping sugar into the bloodstream, because it thinks that we need the energy, it thinks that we're in danger, it thinks that we're going to have to run and fight, and, you know, so we need that energy. Again, not too bad in the short term, but if that's constantly happening, and on top of that, your diet's not great, you know, that's why we're seeing such a high incidence of diagnosis of type 2 diabetes. This blood sugar, the blood sugar's constantly high, blood sugar's constantly high, blood sugar's constantly high. And the thing about the blood sugar, with high blood sugar, whenever your blood sugar is high, the insulin hormone has to come out, and whenever this insulin hormone has to come out to keep the blood sugars down, okay, you can't be burning fat whenever you're pumping out insulin. And so, you know, weight loss can become harder and weight gain can become much easier. So I didn't mean to start into the whole weight loss thing. I know we talked about that last week. But it really is just that stress, I suppose really what I want to share with you is that stress is so much a part and parcel of our daily lives. And whenever I actually started doing this wee bit of research for this, I didn't really have to research it because I know it, but you like to have the facts and the figures to, you know, to back you up. But whenever I looked it up, I saw that the number one cause of stress, now this was first of all in the US that I found, the number one cause of stress in the US is money, with 72% of Americans saying they're stressed out about money. So this was pre-COVID, of course. I think it was like in 2018. So then I found I found 3 or 4 different pieces of research in the UK, and they all said the same thing. Somewhere between 74 and 85% of UK adults, and this was there was one study in 2013 and one in 2018, so this is before COVID, okay, felt so stressed that they felt overwhelmed and that they couldn't cope. That's between 74 and 85% in 2 different studies, okay. 81% of women felt that they were so stressed and couldn't cope, 67% of men. And 83% of 18 to 24 year olds, so that's like our young people, felt that they were so overwhelmed that they couldn't cope. In the UK, interestingly, work was the number one cause of stress. There was 34% of people thought work was their highest cause of stress. 30%, which is a close runner for the work, was money, and 17% in terms of health. And in a couple of studies you'll see that swung around between work, money, work, money, work, money, work. So those are all kind of like the top causes of stress that we're aware of. And I know that you know, nationally there's a lot of stuff getting done around you know, mental health and you know, different things like that. But there's so much that we can do at a, I suppose, at a micro day-to-day level to help to address our stress levels. Now, sometimes it's not all about reducing or getting rid of stress. Sometimes it is, and there'll be bits of stress that we can kind of let go of. But a lot of the time it's you know, wee exercises to help to try to build up our resilience to stress. You know, so, you know, in terms of that, what I mean is, how can we quickly recover from a setback, from a stressful situation, or from a difficulty? And you can train yourself, you can train up your resilience just the way that you can kind of train up your muscles. Bit by bit, you're training your muscles to get stronger by kind of, you know, doing an easy exercise and then pushing it another wee bit, and then pushing it another wee bit, and pushing it another wee bit. And in terms of our stress levels, that's what we can do. Drive me up the walls. You know, so there are loads of things that we can do around that, but also what we can do and get better at is, you know, reassuring our physical body that actually, okay, I'm feeling a wee bit stressed now because I'm about to go on Facebook and there's a fly buzzing around here, or you know, I'm late for work and the boss is going to, you know, whatever. But it's putting habits in place that actually help our body to come back down from that stress response, even temporarily, you know, before the next one hits us, so that at least a few times during the day we have, you know, physically de-stressed ourselves. So that's just a few wee bits and pieces, a few wee thoughts on stress. I'm not sure that it's very comforting for us to know that there are so many of us that are out there that are living these, you know, very, very stressful lives. But I think hopefully it's a wee bit reassuring to know that there are things that can be done, and you know, that, and sometimes quite simple things can be so very, very effective.